Welcome to The Connect. This wonderful afternoon. Yes, I'm back on your screens, I know. But basically, I had to be back on your screens for this one. This is just an amazing topic. I don't know why sometimes it's a very sensitive topic. We're going to delve into that and just wonder and find out, is it a sensitive topic or is it a very important topic that we, as Africans, migrants in this country, we need to start this discussion. And also, we need to prepare ourselves, our children, for financial literacy. Today, we're going to talk about money, yes. We're going to talk about money. And our guest today is an author, a writer. She's written a book and, you know, she'll tell us why money, why writing, and we're going to delve into all that. But before that, I'll just, say thank you to all our viewers, our subscribers. If you haven't subscribed, please go and subscribe. Actually, that gives us the more energy, the more motivation to actually keep bringing you these amazing stories and much, much more. But without further ado, I'll just welcome our guest. She's going to introduce herself, and then after that, we're going to just delve straight into this amazing, amazing topic. Jane, karibu sana.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for, this time. It's not... it's not an easy, feat. Sometimes people are busy. I know you've been, away, back and busy and all that. Thank you for making the time.
Thank you.
Here at The Connect, we're much, much honored to have you. Maybe just for our viewers, just maybe a brief introduction, a little bit about yourself so that our audience can get to know you.
All right. So thanks so much for having me, Peter, today. My name is Jane Hughes, and I am a mother of 2 adult children now, so adult young children. And I'm married to one amazing man. His name is Robert Hughes. So that's my introduction for now.
Amazing. Yeah, I've always been wondering why the name Hughes, but now thank you for that, because she goes by the name Jane Hughes. So let's try and get your story just a little bit before we now come back to writing. So what is your background and how did it happen now? What's your why that maybe you happen to be in Australia, you happen to love, maybe money or books? So maybe just give a little bit of a background about yourself.
All right. So my background from Kenya, Central Province. And I never thought about coming to Australia at all. So I used to see and watch Neighbours because that was it was a very known program back in Kenya as well. And I used to admire and I would just think, oh, those ruins and gardens. But I never knew that I was going to come at one time and settle in Australia. So I came from a very poor background. So we've really, really struggled in our lives. And my dad died when we were younger, so my mom really did struggle to cater for 6 children. And it was such a hassle. And I could try and see how she was juggling money. Wasn't easy or anything. But anyway, she managed to put us through school. And like she used to tell us, education was the key to everything. So I was happy that I got an education. And then here came an Australian man we met in Nairobi many years ago now. And interestingly, he told me I'm a poor Mzungu, so I'm a poor white man.
Yes.
And we started going out and he said to me, I'm really interested in you, but I don't have money. In Kenya, everyone thinks a white person have money, but I do not have money, but I want to have my life with you. And if you want to accept me without anything, I'm happy to move forward. And I said, yeah, because I fell for him. He's a lovely man. Yes. Wow. So that's how we started. But we never came to Australia immediately. We lived in Kenya because we wanted to give our children both sides of the world. We wanted to give them a little bit of Kenya and a little bit of Australia so that they can understand where they were coming from. So this man took me to funny places because he was poor. He was looking for a job. Then he got a job in Tanzania in the middle of nowhere. Like literally we had no water, we had no electricity. And we survived. It was the best thing ever because we had each other and he could not speak any Swahili. Up to today, he can't speak Swahili, even after being married to me for many, many years. But I used to be like his interpreter. But I said, you have to pay me. I wasn't going to do the interpretation for free. So he was working and I was doing the interpretation for him. So we lived in somewhere called Vareska in outside of Arusha, near Usaliva. Lived there for some few years. He was managing a farm. So sometimes I would help him here and there. But he told me, you can be my manager for the money as well, house money. So we lived there for some time. Then we went back to Kenya. Kids came along, and he couldn't get a job in Nairobi or in Kenya in that matter. So he worked in Somalia. And what does that mean? It meant that I was to look after the children when he went to work. So we had an agreement that I was not going to work. He was going to work, where I did look after the children. So we relied on one salary. So I realized I had to really focus on saving and not wasting money, because we had nothing. We started with nothing. So he would go to work, and he never sat down and said, oh, where has the money gone, or what is happening with the money. I used to get all his money and I would manage it. So the account was there to share, but he never questioned me in any time that about his money or anything. And then he said, oh, well, I think it's time. I'm sick and tired of being in Somalia and in Kenya. It's time we move. So I'm going to look for a job somewhere else. And I said, all right, I'm here to support you, because I decided he was the man I wanted to be with in life. And he looked for a job, and he was hired by Australia, in an organization in Australia, to go and start Care International in Vanuatu. So I've never heard of Vanuatu. I had no idea where Vanuatu was. And I was there telling the kids, oh God, we're gonna move. The kids were a little bit bigger, so now they had an idea. We're gonna go to this place called Vanuatu. Dad is gonna go and start an organization there, but we decided he goes first so that I could clean up the mess back at home, setting the stuff, making sure everything was organized. So I was still handling money. So he went to Vanuatu and stayed there for like 4 months before we joined him, and he had to look for a house, look for schools for the kids. And he called me and he said, oh, I don't want our kids to go to international school. I just want them to experience the Nivan's life, like everyone who is in the island. And I said, yeah, that's great. So we went to Vanuatu, and we decided we were not going to have a car. We were not going to have a television. We were just going to arrive and give the kids the opportunity to just enjoy life, because back in Nairobi, they were in schools where they had to go very early in the morning, come late, had to go and pick them up. So we wanted a complete change. So we had about 2 years in Vanuatu, which was amazing, because when the kids went to school, I went back and I did my MBA through distant education with Monash University. Oh, wow. And we got to learn a lot of things, to play golf. We did kayaking, we did snorkeling. The kids went to school with no shoes. They got to learn how to speak Bishrama. It was just amazing. So, but within this time, I was still the one who was managing money.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Wow. And from Vanuatu, and then we're coming to,
Australia.
This is an amazing, foundation of how you actually got to handle money.
Yes.
We're going to come, talk about that a little bit more. But how did now happen to come to Australia? And while you came to Australia, did you now continue handling the money? And how did that go?
Yeah. So in Vanuatu, life was very expensive. Everything was so expensive, and we had, my husband did not even have an idea how life was going to be when he went to Vanuatu. Mm-hmm. And then we got there and we realized, oh my God, these people didn't have chicken. They had to wait for chicken to come from Australia. Oh, wow. And they had the best beef, because they grew the beef organically. So I said to my husband, instead of buying this chicken, which was coming from overseas, I was going to go to the market and get the local food and learn how to cook, so that we could save money rather than spending all this money out there. So we decided, after some time, all right, the kids are in that stage where we can come to Australia. That was our plan. And he said to me, all right, you have your education now. Do you want to go to Australia, Ari? And I looked back and I thought, actually, if we go the whole of us, then it will be an issue, because we won't have a job. He was out of Australia for that long that if he came here, he didn't know where to start. And I think in his own head, he wasn't really ready to come to Australia, because he loves interacting with people in the villages, sleeping in the village, washing, those kind of That's what he loves doing.
Yeah.
And I say to him, look, I'll go to Australia myself, alone. I'll go and look for a job, look for children's education, the schools, and I'll look for a house to rent. And we didn't have much money. And he said, all right, the little money we have, you can go and you know what to do. So I came to Australia alone. I was met by a friend whom I stayed with. And it's really difficult to live with people. Very, very, very difficult. So I got this a friend who was, she wasn't a Kenyan, but she lived in Kenya for quite a long time, married to an Australian. We met back in Kenya. Mm-hmm. So they offered to offer me a place in the city. But I also had friends because I used to come to Australia on and off since 90s. So I had made some friends here. And I had a really good friend, but she lived in Wallowo, which is really far. Yeah. But I also had some Christian brothers who were doing projects back in Tanzania and Kenya, and we had become very good friends. So when I got here, they said, well, Jane, because you have no one to help you, maybe we can chip in and whatever. So I found it very challenging for me because I got here and my friend wasn't very positive about looking for jobs because all she said is, it's a very racist country. Mm. It's very difficult to get a job even if you have qualifications from Australia. Yeah. And I was sitting down and I was thinking, I have 2 good qualifications I can use, but then there is no opportunity of jobs. So the only thing I could hear at the time was, you have to go and work in aged care. And I was like, really, aged care? Well, okay, if I have to, even though I have the qualifications, then there is no other choice. But then I thought, oh, well, I'll try. So my first step was Centrelink to see what they could help me with because I had permanent resident for many years. And I got to Centrelink and they said, oh my God, you're so overqualified. So you can go out there and look for a job. I can write really well. So I've never gotten anyone to write my CV or selection criteria for that matter. Yeah. And I thought, well, maybe I might go home, go on the internet, and I'm good in the internet, and try and look for jobs. Meanwhile, whoever I got who was Kenyan was very demoralizing. It was like, you cannot get a job here in an office. All you have to do is to go and work in aged care. So my morality went down, and I'm a very, very positive. I am a go-getter. So I decided, all right, let me get in the internet and have a look at the courses. And I called this aged care. It was a school which was offering aged care courses.
Yes.
And on the other side, I could hear this lady is a Kenyan. So I was really happy, like, oh my God, I've gotten another Kenyan on the other side. She's going to help me out. And even if it's not doing the course, but at least to advise me what to do. And she said, just come over and we have a talk and sit down and see where you can go. But when I went to her office, all she wanted was my money. She wanted 3,000 because the government could not fund me because I had good qualifications in my pocket. But I can remember when I was getting out of her office, there was an Indian lady who was at the reception. And she said, Jane, I've looked at your CV and it's seriously so good. You have no problem getting a job in this country. She was an Indian. I didn't know her. She said, don't come here to pay the 3,000. Go home, sit on the computer, look for jobs, and believe me or not, you get a job. Remember, I'm living with those people, their friends.
Yes.
So, and it was a bit tricky because I had to wait for them to wake up and so that they can go to work, so that I can also sit down and browse, even though I could go to the library. Yeah. But anyway, so that woman gave me morale. I'm a believer that few words can actually build you up. Yeah. Yeah. Just the words telling me that your CV looks good, you can present yourself well, you can do it. Go sit down and look for jobs. Wow. I never looked back. Wow. Went home, sat down, applied, and I got 2 interviews. It didn't take me long. 2 interviews, and I thought, I've never done an interview in Australia. So this is interesting.
Wow.
So I had 2 jobs, and one was to work with community food banks. And the other one was doing qualification assessment for people to migrate in Australia.
Wow.
So I thought, oh my God, oh, this is interesting. So I went to both interviews and I thought whichever will come first, then I'll take the job. And I'm really good in interviews because like I said, I can write to people. Yourself, yes. I know what people require. So I went to my interview and I got both jobs. But the one which came first
is the one you took.
Was the qualification assessment. And I can remember the manager calling me. I was in the train going to look for a house. And she said, Jane, we'll be happy to have you on board. Please come and be our assessor. And I took the job with 2 hands.
Wow.
So I was doing qualification assessment for people migrating to Australia.
Yeah.
So I did that for a while, but I get so bored sitting in the office. I cannot do one thing, and that is me. So I got really bored after some time, and I thought, let me use my management course, because I had done an MBA. Went to do I applied for a job again. The interview was horrendous. It was I presented it, I sat down, I wrote papers, but I passed eventually. We were, I think, 3, but I beat them all. Yeah. So I got the job. But within 3 months, I thought, no, I don't want to do this. The money was so good, but the job was highly, highly stressful. It was taking work home,
yes,
and taking work from back to the office. And even my children told me, Mom, you can't survive in this job.
Yeah.
So I decided to quit and went back to uni, and I did nursing. And did nursing. And now I do my nursing. I'm an aesthetic nurse, but I also teach. Remember, I can't do one job.
Do one thing at a time.
So I do an aesthetic nursing.
Yes.
And I do teach, but I decided to work smart. I am not employed. I do work for the agency. I've worked for the agency for a very long time.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of hospitals, and they're always happy to have me.
Wow,
so I love my job.
What a story. And just to conclude, did the family join you? Because I remember you were leaving the family, and then we come to your book and why you went into writing. Yeah. But you mentioned you left your family, your husband. Did they join you? Are you happily now in Australia? And then after that, we go straight to your book.
All right. So once I got here and I got a job, then I got a house. So now the next step and the challenge was to look for a school for the children, because we wanted our kids to go to Catholic school.
Okay.
Okay. We did not want them to go to a state school. And because in Kenya, the one was in Catholic school, the other one was in St. Mary's in Lavington. So they were in good schools. We wanted them to go back to that. And when I came here, I was told, no, if you're not a Catholic, your child cannot join Catholic school. And I thought, oh my God, where do I start? Anyway, so I was told, oh, you have to go and see Father Orieri. He's the one who manages this parish. And then you see whether he can get the kids for you to take the kids on. Otherwise, you'll be forced to join Catholic church.
Yeah.
Yes. And I timed, I think it was on a Sunday, went to the Mass. And then later I saw Father Orieri, and he was literally like really harsh, like, are you a Catholic? And I said, no, I'm not a Catholic. Why do you want your kids to go to Catholic? And by the time I've had enough, and I said, hang on, if God came today, would he discriminate whether I was a Catholic or a Presbyterian? We are all the children of God. So you can't come and tell me that because I am different from you, I can't have a school. And he looked at me and he said, Jane, your kids will have the school. And that's how I got the school. So the kids joined me. So they came in and they joined their school.
Amazing. Mommy. What a beautiful story right there. Starting from nothing, growing yourself up to actually doing amazing jobs, not just fitting in the mold. Because a lot of people, to be quite honest, if you're told, oh, this is the only thing, especially when you come to Australia, we're told this is the only line you need to go. Most of the people, unfortunately, I have to say, fit in that mold. Whether it's just not looking elsewhere like you did or listening to other people, they actually just follow. But amazing to you that you actually went out. So for me, the biggest question I have right now, and I want to understand, because you've talked about different careers, different paths, but when did the writing come in? How did you even get to writing? Because we're here to celebrate you and talk to people about your book. How did you come to writing?
I'm a storyteller. I tell stories.
Wow.
And I do a lot of traveling. I've traveled a lot. And me and my husband, we've traveled a lot. We've done Europe, we've done South America, we've done Pacific. And when I do the travels, I normally tell stories of the travels we've done. And most people say, oh my God, Jane, why can't you put it into book? It's interesting to read. Just put it into books. But when it comes to the money management book, it's my journey through what I've done. And also I got here and I realized no one tells you anything. You are never educated on what to do. You are never educated on where to go. You have to learn the hard way. And running through that hard way, I thought, well, the skills I have, I can pass it on. Another thing is I work with people, we make good money. But what I've realized, I actually will work with someone who will say, oh my God, we're getting paid next week. And I would say, why? And they say, oh, I'm waiting for that money to come through. And I'm like, you're not serious. I have no money. I have no money. And I thought, well, there is such a big problem within the society. People live paycheck to paycheck. My kids, I started teaching them about money when they were young. We used to go to the supermarket or we used to go to the mall here. And I would give one $100 and the other one $100, and I would tell them, that's your world. Do whatever you want to do with that money. One, they don't nag me when we are doing the shopping. And second, I could see one was like, oh, Mom, things are so expensive, because they don't want to remove their $100. And the other one would buy and be left with nothing. So as they grow, they realize the value of money, because you really do have to teach them. So my reason for writing the basics of managing money, it's because people have no idea at all. You get here, you're told you have to sign in superannuation. You don't know what is super. You're told you have, we are paid fortnightly, but the money comes to the bank. You have no idea how it works or what happened. You realize you come here, I'm a big saver. You start saving money, but you can't just leave your money in the bank. You have to do something with that money. So you have to look for somehow where that money will start making money for you.
Amazing. Let's touch maybe on what strategy or how can you. We're talking a little bit about your book now. Let's talk about your book. So let's start the basic. How do you save money? Because we're in a culture, and to be quite honest, our people are making a lot of money. So how can you start a saving culture? What is the most basic thing that someone needs to do to actually start growing a saving and not working paycheck to paycheck?
So you can never save money before you know what you spend. That's the first step. That if you do not know what you spend, there is no way known you can save, because what are you saving? You know? So the first thing when I came to Australia, I got a pen and a paper at the time, and every coin I used, every cent I used, every coffee I bought, every water I bought, every lunch I bought, the transport and everything went into that paper. When my kids and my husband came, we did the same thing. And for 6 good months, we were able to sit down, and I was able to sit down and say, all right, money is being wasted here. We can save on money here. Or we are paying online money we don't know. Maybe it's being paid years, but we haven't followed up, because you forget. So you sit down and you think, all right, so I can see where money is going. So now I can sit down and have a budget, because you cannot save if you don't have a budget either. So the first thing is to look as to where your money is going. Document every coin or every cent you use. After that, then you sit down, analyze your expenditure, and then sit down and think, all right, this is what I need. This is what I want. Do I want or do I need? Okay? And then you sit down and do a budget. And once you do a budget, please, you have to add higher to that budget, because one of the biggest problems I realize is people make budget, but within 3 months, they are back to their sleeping habits. So they do not keep up to their budget. So a budget is a tool which helps you to stay on top of your money. So if you sit on that budget, then you'll be able to say, all right, I'm saving 2,000 here. it is going to the account. But is this money also making money for me? Because there's no point of saving if it's not going to make money for you.
Wow. So basic, track your spending, people, track your spending. Yes, I'm going to say that again because I think we're splurging a lot. We're just wasting and not looking where the money is going, and then get a budget. We're going to talk about that maybe later on and have, Jane, if she's happy, just teach you on, financial literacy. We're going to have her again, but today we just want to get the book, people, get the book. We're going to talk about the book later on where you can find the book. For now, let's talk about something that a lot of people, especially, in this country, we talk about something in your book. Let's talk about super. What is super? Because you come into this country and you hear superannuation. The first thing employer tells you, do you have a superannuation number or something? What is super? And let's talk about super a little bit, because I think people really get lost in terminologies, especially in this country. And then we're going to have you another day, just talk about, teach people. I'm happy to come wherever you are, teach people about finances, because that's a really big one. People are not really financial literacy when it comes to money. They are very illiterate. Sorry to say, but they need to be aware of what money should do for. Yeah, so let's talk about super. In your book, you mentioned somewhere, but what is super? Let's start with the basic definition of super and what super does for you.
So super, it's like NSSF back in Kenya.
Pesa usoni.
Yes. So it is money which is deducted and it's kept for you, so that when you get a bit older, in Australia, you cannot access it until you are 60 years old and above. And 67 is where you can actually really access your money fully. Okay, you can still access it from 60, but you have to wait until you can get full pension at 67. But the thing is, when it's a bit better now, because when I came to this country, and many people can attest to this, is that there were so many super organizations. So if you worked like for 3 or 4 companies, every company had their own superannuation organization managing for them.
Yes.
You as an employer or as an employee, what happens is every time you join a new one, and your money gets lost within the system because you have like 3 or 4 organizations managing your super. Now the government have streamlined it that you do not have to change your superannuation organization. This organization also charges you administration fee. So it is good as a person who is employed to have a look and see how much money do they charge me per month, because that add up after some time.
Yes.
All right, is my super in one organization or it is spread in different places? Yes. If it is spread out, every organization is charging you money. So whatever money you had with those other organizations, that money will still disappear because it will be eaten by the administration fees.
Yes.
So when you have one organization, you can be able to sit down and have a look at how much are they charging you. There is also a fee which is a death fee which is charged.
Cover. Death cover.
It's a cover, a death cover, and it is compulsory. Some organizations also charge too high. Look at your organization and have a look and see how much do you want to pay. Like, for example, I only pay $5 a month because I don't want to waste.
Death cover.
Yes, because I do not want to waste my money. So which ends up to around 45. That's a lot of money. I don't want an extravagant funeral. I want just to be cremated in a simple coffin. That's it. So I do not want to waste my money where I don't have to waste money. So look at this organization and see how much they charge. Can you reduce this? What else are you charging me? Sometimes they charge you in case you are sick. They have an insurance fee there for you. Do you need it? Do you want it? So get access to your super and have a look. When you have your super there as well, it can also make money for you because this organization take the money and they reinvest that money. It doesn't just sit down. It doesn't sit in the account. They invest it in different shares and other places. So it makes money for you. So if you do not have an access to your super, get login details from your organization, go in your super, see what is there, See where they've been investing the money. If you have a good idea where you can invest yours, then you can as well even invest within your superannuation.
Amazing. And just to bring it home, super is the money that you'll use when you retire.
That's right.
So you don't want to retire poor, and
Yes.
you don't have something to help you when you retire.
That's right.
And to grow this money, is there something else you can do to grow this money? Because I know and I've heard that you can actually grow your super quickly.
Yes.
So how do you grow your super so that you can actually retire with a good lump sum? And is there a good amount to retire with? Maybe I can put those two questions there. How can you grow it? And is there a good amount that you can say, okay, I have this amount, it's a good amount to retire with as super?
As for the research at the moment, they say if you're 60 and you have 500,000 Australian dollars, you'll be able to live until you are 95. Okay? Where this money will look after you.
500,000.
Yes.
And I want you guys to go and look at your super and see where you are and how much you need to top up to get to 500,000. Yes.
So you can actually top up your super and you don't have to kill yourself. Remember we said you have to have a budget.
Yes.
For me, I don't even contribute a lot, but I still do because sometimes I have some few money which is sitting doing nothing, so I could put it in super. So every year, you're supposed to have like 27,500, which you can top up in your super.
Wow.
So it has to be everything, your employee and whatever you have contributed have to be 27,500. Otherwise, it will go above or overboard.
Yes.
You can have a strategy where you say every week or every fortnight when I'm paid, I'll put $100 into super because it all adds up. Okay? So like, for example, what I do, I put $50 every week.
Wow.
Which is not a lot,
Yes.
but when you look at it, it actually adds up. But then when it comes to near the tax time,
Yes.
I look at whether have I gotten up to 27,500. If not, I top it up.
Okay.
And because this money has already been taxed, you can also still go back to the government and claim that money because you've been taxed. And you'll be given some money back.
Yes.
So you can grow your super by just putting a little bit because at the end of the day, it actually does help when you get a bit older. And you might say, well, you don't know when you're going to live,
Yes.
but you have children, you know?
Yeah.
So yes, you can grow your super.
Yes, grow your super, people. Please grow your super. I don't want people to retire. You are abroad, Australia, where you're making all this money and you're retiring broke.
Yes.
It's not going to happen while we are here. So in another section of your book, you talked about pay now services. I'm sure this you're referring to debts because there are good debts and there are bad debts. Let's talk about, this culture and the habit of, you want something, but you don't have money and you want to buy now and then pay later. Maybe talk about that because it's actually a very big thing now.
Yeah. I just call it a scourge of Australia. I really seriously, I work with people who are like, they don't have the money, but they want to spend. And I'm like, why are you spending? Remember I said there is the want and the need. So you have to sit down and think, what do I need? And I give a good example. At the moment, like a few weeks ago, I was so mad because I had some colleague who was saying, oh, I don't have money, but I'm going to go and see Taylor Swift. And there's nothing wrong going to see Taylor Swift.
Of course.
But they couldn't get the right amount to pay the ticket. So people were happy to dig in even 1,000 to go and see Taylor Swift. And it's not like she's not going to come back. I love her to death. But if I can't afford, I'm not going to go.
Yeah.
So there is this thing between want and need. If you need something, you cannot live without it.
Yes.
It has to be there. If you want something, you can live without it. So this buy now, pay later, you don't need it because you do not need, if you don't need it then, why do you want to buy now and then you are put on a debt? And then something else people don't remember or forget that within 7 days, if you do not pay, it starts incurring new money. So instead of buying the item at the right amount, you end up paying more money and you lose the money.
Oof.
Yeah.
Wow. There you have it, people. If you don't need it, please
leave it.
Leave it until when it's in your budget. You've budgeted for it. You can afford it. Then buy so that you don't end up in debt. So amazing, amazing, amazing. And then let's talk about people, especially in this country. The biggest investment that I see people running to or going to is a good house. it's the Australian dream, to just have, you own your own home. So how can you now start building yourself towards that? And is there a good deposit you can say this amount is good for you to actually, get into a good house? How can we get into the housing market, and what deposit does someone need? Talk about that a little bit.
So I am a believer of not having debts. I seriously hate debts.
Yes.
We don't have a debt, me and my husband.
Yeah.
We don't owe anyone debt. And housing is important because that's where we live. But I am a believer that if you don't have the money, don't go for it. You can still rent and manage and save good money for your house later.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be now and then. It can wait. So what I tell people is, if you have enough deposit, it's okay. You look at your budget, you look at your money, and you see, I'm putting in the interest rate will go up at one time. If they go up, will I be in a position to handle the situation?
Yes.
Because I got a point where I was working with people who are taking houses for 800,000, and they were not factoring in that interest rate will go up one time. Now the interest rates have gone a little bit, and not much. But I'm hearing people, I want to sell. So everyone wants to sell because they did not have the money. So you need a good, solid deposit to be able to buy a house. And also not buying, you're going to pay slowly. But when you are in that house, then you're not stretched out that you have to be working 24/7. The kids don't see you because you're chasing the money to buy the house. You still have to live, even though you have to pay your mortgage.
Wow, amazing! So that right there is a tip for the life-work balance.
Yes.
Because a lot of people, especially here in diaspora, you find that we are running too much, and we're not resting enough. Because at the end of the day, we putting rest aside so that we can actually have the big dream, the Australian dream. But amazing tip, right? The amazing tip. So let's talk about now. We've grown our savings, and we have a good chunk of money. What insights do you have in terms of investments with these savings that we have? And you've mentioned that in your book. What portfolios, or where can people invest their money now?
So you have your money in the account.
Yes.
It's grown a little bit. So your pig is growing.
Yes.
And you think, all right, there's no point of the money being in the account if it's not doing anything. One thing I've realized that if you have a good account and you have good money, the bank will always call you.
Yes.
Hi, Jane, can I do something, or can we sit? And, because they want to use your money. Your money is not sitting in the bank doing nothing.
Yes.
They're utilizing it and they're investing it into other areas. So what you do is, the first thing, if you do not want a risk, because any investment is a risk.
It's a risk, yes.
Call the bank and tell them, I have this money. What interest are you going to give me? And they'll harm. But good banks, if you have good deposit, they'll offer you something good. So they'll give you what they can give you.
Yeah.
If they don't, then there are other avenues where you can actually still make your money. So there is the shares in Australia. You can put your money into shares. There is quite a few shares you can invest in. There is also something I call fast mortgages, because I love fast mortgages myself. The reason I go with fast mortgages, it's because they give you over and above the interest rate, more than what is there in the bank.
In the market.
So what happens? You put your money at a risk. It's a risk you take, but it's going to grow your money. And everything you do in this world, it's a risk.
Yes.
It's just money at the end of the
Yes.
day. So you put your money into fast mortgage. Fast mortgages are organizations, they are financial organizations. They are known by the government. They are protected. They are normally more onto the property market, people who are developing the properties and all that. So you put your money in there, and your money is lent out to people, but those people pay higher interest rate. So while the bank is paying like 4 or 5%, you're getting 8 to 9%.
Oh, wow.
So it does grow for you. But remember, this money, you still have to pay tax, but you still get good money in return.
Wow, fast mortgage, I've never had.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
I've never had that. So, wow, I'm just learning as well, people. I'm just learning. So back there at home, I'm sure you've taken a lot of notes. There's a book right here. And amazing, I've just opened a page. I want you guys to get this book. There's a handwritten budget, which is amazing, man. This is as basic as it comes. So guys, get the book. We're gonna find out where. It's called The Basics of Managing Money by Jane Hughes. We're gonna find out just in a moment where we can actually find this book. So what basically we coming to an end, and we're looking at now maybe anything that I've left, any final remarks, because I'm sure people will ask for you more, and I'm happy to have you and talk about now nitty-gritties. How do you do this? How do you do that? Because money is a big thing and it's never spoken about. You just get in Australia, you get these big jobs, you get this big money, and you just let it sit in the bank, because that's actually the traditional way of. I'll speak. I was in banking before in Kenya, but that's the traditional way of how, as Africans or majority of people just, keep it safe. Let's stay in the account where you can see it. But amazing that now we're changing the narrative and you're provoking people to actually do more. So maybe there's something I've left out. There's final remarks. There's advice you want to give to people about money, about anything. Please feel free. This is your chance.
All right. So when you come to Australia, there is a lot of challenges, but those challenges are doable. You take them on because you come to a country where you are new, you don't know people, you're going to learn about the culture, and the culture also shocks you. When you get your job, the first thing you do is look for someone who has been here and ask them, or even look for someone who deals with the money, because I'm not a financial advisor. Ask them, what can I do with my money? I put the money in the account. What else can I do? Try and learn. Go online. Australian government do have a website where they have information about finances. Look online. Go on the internet. Search for information. See what you can do with your money, because it is really important. Like I said, no one is taught about money. And even our kids who are in school, they're never taught about money. And I get people buy this book, particularly for young people as well, but they do not know even the older ones have a problem. I work with the doctors, and I seriously work with some anesthetists who tells me, oh my God, Jane, your book is so good, because all we do is to learn about medicine, but no one teaches us about money. So you find that the doctors work for a very long time, but they cannot manage money because someone else is either managing for them, or they cannot manage, they just misuse it, and they end up not having whatever they thought they would be having. So it is important to have an understanding, just the basics. And this book is just about the basics of money.
Amazing. And maybe other books you've written, and then how can now people find your books and your works? So do you have any other books that you've written? And maybe touch a little bit about your writing, maybe, because we didn't touch on that. And then now you can tell people how they can find your book. Guys, The Basics of Money, that's what we spoke about today, but she's going to tell us more about her writing and other books that she's written and where you can actually find the books. Over to you, Jane.
So my book, you can find it anywhere in the world. The only problem, you can't find it in Kenya because the government is going to kill you with the tax. But anywhere else in the world, you can get the book. So you go online and you look for The Basics of Managing Money. Keep it simple to build savings. And if you're in America, it's there. If it is in England, it is there. New Zealand, it's there. If it is in Australia, it's there. So it's basically everywhere in the world. You can get access to it. There are two versions. There is the ebook and there is the hard copy. So whichever you want, it's up to you. All right. I have a website there. You can have a look and you can send me a message or anything. So that's how you can get that book. I've done a bit of writing because I said I am a storyteller. And I tell my books as I tell my stories, and I write my books as I tell the stories. So I've written 2 more books. I've written about bad time in South America. This book was about, we were going to Antarctica, but we never got there in 2020 because COVID got us in Ushuaia. So one day before the day to go to Antarctica, we were caught up there, and it's all the experience we found and experienced when we were there. So it's a very interesting book, and it's comical as well because it has a bit of jokes as well. And this one was finally going to Antarctica and getting there and just putting our stories to what we got in Antarctica. It's amazing. Once in a lifetime trip, but it's not something you want to do forever. And yes, I'm now writing. I have 2 more coming soon. Hopefully they'll come out soon. Yeah.
Amazing. And this is a question that has just come into mind. And I want you to give advice because your story is amazing that you got a chance to manage your finances from way back in Kenya through all the continents that we've traced you to, and you've seen your spouse actually supporting you through doing that. So maybe you can advise maybe marriages, couples about how they can actually manage their and allowing others to manage their finances. What tips or what advice do you have for that? And then that's a wrap for me, because I've just remembered for couples, what advice do you have for them, especially managing finances?
You cannot manage money without your couple being on board. You have to work as a team. There is no way known. Yes, you earn and your husband does earn, but there is no way known you can say you can manage money if both of you are not together doing it. Because, for example, you've saved money, he's also saving money, and then you find after some time you have like 200,000 in the account. This is an example.
Yeah.
But then you cannot remove your money to go and invest somewhere else, because you have to sit down and see, what are we going to do with this money? So you have to be one thing when you're managing this money. There is no time to buy plots in Kenya hiding as a woman. You have to come up open and say, look, there is money here. I think it's good I buy a house in Kenya or a plot in Kenya. Then if your husband agrees, then you agree. Who is it going to go? Whose name is it going to go in? Is it both of us? You have to be a team to be able to sail through. Otherwise, you're going to create problems, particularly like you're not going to be here forever.
Yeah.
And when children grow up and you're gone, when your husband goes in and digs in and finds, oh my God, she had this property, and this property. Africans are horrible in writing wills. They don't want to write wills. And there is no will. Then you leave that question mark, the trust. I lived with this person for 30, 40 years, but there was no trust because she was doing things behind my back. But if you are upfront, even though you want to do something, your husband is not going to stop you from doing it, because you're also a contributor in that marriage. So you just have to sit down and say, this is what I would like to do. And normally they wouldn't. My husband wouldn't. If I say, look, I want to buy a house in Kenya, you say, if you think that's what you think, it's good for us, then do it. So it won't be a problem, really. But you have to be one unit to be able to manage money.
And to be open.
And openness is a must.
Yes.
That is a must. Being open. I'm a Kikuyu originally. And you can imagine, as with the plots, we are doomed.
Yeah.
Okay?
Kashamba.
And I can remember my first time when I met my husband, and the first time I hid a bit of money somewhere after some time. And I thought, because I wasn't sure whether this poor Mzungu, what was going to happen. And I bought a plot of land, because remember, I'm a Kikuyu.
Yes.
And I hid and I bought a plot of land. But then sometimes I thought, oh my God, if I croaked it today, if I died today, then that trust would be gone forever, even though I would be gone.
Yes.
So I had to come clean and say, you know what? I hid a bit of money and I bought this plot of land. He had no issue. All I had to do was to be open and say what I had. So even if I want to buy something, he'll never stop me from buying, because I'm also working.
Yes.
But I have to be open and say, this is what I have. And at the end of the day, we actually come to this country, work so hard for our children, because we want them to have a better future. For me, I can survive in Kenya. For them, to see them have the opportunity to do what they want to do, that's why we come here and work so hard for it. So you have to be open.
Work as a team, people. Work as a team. Amazing, amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jane, for actually creating the time and just opening this conversation. This is a conversation opener. It's not the end of it, guys. It's not the end of it. We're going to talk about that more. And anything that you'd like to know, please write on the comment sections. Any question you have, and then we're going to invite Jane. I hope she's going to allow us to invite her again. Let's talk about money. Let's educate our community about, money. Let's take baby steps. Start from the start. Budgeting. What is a budget? We take it one step at a time. So guys, if you have any question, please write down on the comment section below, and then we're gonna, work so hard to actually bring Jane again, and then we teach you all about money. But for today, we want to say thank you, Jane, for allowing us to have you today, and for your family as well. Thank them for us, and thank you. And we hope that you're gonna find time to be on the Connect again.
Yeah, it will be anytime, Peter.
Asante sana. And for our viewers, thank you for watching this amazing segment. Eye opener to me, conversation opener to you. So whatever you have, please reach out to us. And if you have any other stories out there you'd like us to come and to impact the community, educate the community, please reach out to us, and we're gonna endeavor to do that story. But other than that, please share this story, subscribe if you haven't, and we're gonna catch you guys on the next one.